Hey guys, it's your boy Kenny Boulder, and I want to talk about heroes. Not just the one between these pages here, but the ones that we make as fans. I want to talk about one of my heroes, Henry Cavill. For folks who need a recap about this whole situation, or about who the man is, the myth, the legend, Henry Cavill is a blockbuster actor. He's been in movies like Superman, The Witcher. He's been also in other TV shows and movies like The Tudors and in Mission Impossible Fallout. And the biggest news that has been out here for Henry Cavill is that Henry motherfucking Cavill is going to be executive producer for Amazon's new Warhammer 40K TV show. Henry Cavill is a massive nerd. He is a huge nerd for this franchise and is openly talking about this in interviews within The Witcher. So, he's not seen by commentators and by fans as another name that will show up on, credits, but as a real force behind a massive studio that is taking on this massive project of its kind. The first time ever of making a Warhammer live-action TV show is done through Henry Cavill. But this video isn't about Henry Cavill doing the impossible by producing this TV show. It's, quite frankly, we've not heard about it. We don't know the name. We don't know the setting. We don't know anything about this TV show. And honestly, I'm not going to make an authentic, review about a TV show that I've not seen yet. It could be as good as the Amazon Fallout TV show. It could be as bad or as crazy and lore-breaking as the Amazon Rings of Power TV show about Lord of the Rings. I'm not going to judge it until I've seen it, and I can't wait to see it because I'm a huge fan of this franchise. I want to see where it's going to happen, and I can't wait to see it. So, you're probably wondering, this video is about the projection, about certain elements of the fandom that put Henry Cavill and the psychology of these fans. Now, what are these fans projecting onto Henry Cavill? Simply put, the fans are projecting their sexism. Their sexism is directed to the new 10th edition of the Adeptus Custodes. Their sexism is because, for the first time ever, there are, drumroll, women in the elite guard that protects the Emperor of Mankind. People who say they are fans have taken great offense to this, and, that should be surprising. We are in a culture war with wokeism and all this stuff, but there are actual misogynists in the hobby. There are misogynists everywhere in nerd culture, in nerd hobby, in nerd video games, etc. But what is most interesting about the situation is that, I'll spend a lot of time talking about this. These fans, these misogynists, these guys, they're projecting their outrage that women exist, that women are in the Custodes, and that by extension, they extend this outrage to Henry Cavill himself. Alright guys, we're going to go in some clips right now. Here's one of my favorite clips of Henry Cavill, talking about how much of a nerd he is right now.
First time you got the call that you could play Superman, what was your reaction?
Well, the first time I got the call, I actually missed it. I was playing World of Warcraft at the time, and I had my priorities straight.
So, as you can see right here, guys, Henry Cavill is a huge passion here, and you're about to see some interviews here, folks. From folks who are going to be interviewing Henry Cavill on his amazing fandom here for Warhammer 40K. You're also going to see how these guys are going to be kind of really giving him a lot of shit, dogging on him, and obviously Henry Cavill is a very handsome, masculine figure who is honestly a very successful celebrity with is worth millions of dollars. Additionally, you're going to see how classy he is. He shows what Warhammer 40K fans should be when they are talking to folks, how respectful, how much joy he expresses in Warhammer 40K.
Geekiest thing would have to be my Warhammer stuff.
We're talking
Hands
Games
down.
Workshop, aren't we? Yeah.
Yeah. It's that took me a while to kind of confess to openly and publicly.
I've geeked, so let's talk about what you guys personally geek out about. Henry, let's start with you.
Specifically, which universe, or just?
I mean, just anything.
Oh my goodness, here we go.
How long have you got?
You've got so many and I've got none.
Yeah, I was like, how much time do we have?
Listen, I'll sit here all day listening.
Ruling out The Witcher.
Yeah, not The
Okay.
Witcher. Okay.
I mean, the easy answer is Warhammer 40,000. That is my jam. I have been into it since I was 10.
What's your army at the moment?
Custodes. Yeah.
I'm going Necrons next year.
Wait. Oh.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Were you
Shall we-
into?
Yes.
Were you in?
Nerd? Are you really a nerd? Because I was
Not a
looking
bad
on
word
your
anymore, guys.
I was looking on your Instagram, and you certainly, I know you shouldn't say somebody looks like a nerd or doesn't look like a nerd. You don't look like a nerd. You look like the opposite of a nerd.
Right.
You look like the quarterback or even, the offensive lineman or something like that. You're a big, handsome, muscular guy, and yet you have hobbies, the hobbies of a nerd. Would you...
I do. Yes.
You do. This is something that you, I'm told, are very involved with, and this is, you're painting, what is this thing you're painting?
That is it's a helmet.
Okay.
A very small helmet, obviously.
Tiny little helmet, and this is the full figure
And that is a body attached.
to the helmet.
helmet.
You painted this,
I did.
and then you play with it?
You paint many of them, and then
paint
you
many
play
of them.
with them with other people.
How many of them?
Depends.
How many did you paint?
Well.
Like more than one?
It's within the confines of the hobby. We call it our grey pile of shame.
You great pile of shame.
Yeah, because they start off grey, and I have a very large grey pile of shame.
Are they metal or are they plastic?
They are plastic. They used to be metal, but now they're all plastic.
Used to be. This is something. It's called Warhammer, right?
Warhammer, yes.
It's been around for a long time.
been around since the 80s.
Since the 80s, and you picked up on it when and how?
I probably picked up on it late 80s and then really got into it early 90s, went to boarding school, was already unpopular.
And you guys didn't have video games. You guys didn't have a Sega Genesis, I guess, is what happened, huh?
Weirdly enough, my brothers and I all had PCs when we were growing up. And we stole our mother's dining room table, which she's still unhappy about. And we just put all our PCs on there and connected them by a cable and play games that way.
To play games?
Yeah.
But this is really old-fashioned. This is like a game with no computer engineering whatsoever.
Yeah. You actually have to hang out with real people.
You have to hang out with people.
Yeah.
And then is it like Dungeons & Dragons where you roll dice?
Yes, in the sense that you do roll dice, yeah, but not like Dungeons & Dragons, because Dungeons & Dragons, I think, is more about an adventure you take like one little model on, right? With your other friends who have one little model. And this is more about armies. So you build armies of these guys, and then you play against someone else in a war scenario.
And is it like marbles, where you will you get to keep the marbles, you get to keep the figures if you kill them, or
No.
No.
That would be.
So there's no penalty whatsoever for losing.
It's not about the losing.
It's about the winning.
It's about taking part, Jim.
I see. It's about the journey
It's very
along
British.
the way.
It's about winning or losing. It's about being there.
It's about being there and inhaling a lot of paint fumes with your friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And this
kids,
relaxes
masters,
you, I
right,
assume? This is like something that brings you down to like zero?
Look, I love it, but I get very frustrated with it at times.
Why?
Because you want to be good at it, right? And
What do you mean good at it?
painting, for example.
okay.
And you can mess up painting for many, many years before you get one thing right. And then you have to do an army of them. And then you have to compare them next to someone else's who's really good.
Right. But then couldn't you just like grab a mirror and look in it and go like, yeah, I'm fine.
Honestly, watching these videos and interviews with Henry Cavill talking about, with all these late night shows and about his hobby and how much of a fan he is, it's really, really awesome. Because Superman likes building and painting miniatures, and I don't know. That just shows how much of a nerd he is, and I can relate to that. And honestly, that's pretty fucking awesome. That Superman, The Witcher, loves building Custodes, loves talking about black stone fortresses and, how it looks like black stone fortress. Like, that's awesome. And, his favorite faction is supposedly going to be the Adeptus Custodes, and I get that because they are probably the coolest faction. They're like the best of the best, but I'm sure he has multiple armies. I'm sure he appreciates Necrons, he appreciates the Imperial Guard, he appreciates all the other factions in Warhammer 40k. And this is probably, again, the first major celebrity that is a part of this fandom, a part of this franchise. I can't think of any other celebrities out there who loves Warhammer 40k as much as Henry Cavill. And Henry Cavill talks a little about this because, you can see it. There is like a stigma. There is an aversion of being a fan of Warhammer 40k. We see this a few times throughout the whole thing with, various shows act like being a nerd is being like a shame or secretive. And that's not the case anymore, as we know. Because, quite frankly, seeing a person like Henry Cavill, someone who is, again, handsome, masculine, very cool, getting millions of views. Like, these videos have millions of views, and of people who are supportive of him, is pretty good, because this is going to make the hobby grow. This is going to make the franchise grow. This is going to bring more and more people into the fandom. And Warhammer 40k having Henry Cavill as a brand ambassador is huge news. And it will lead us into, the next big announcement. One of the biggest announcements of Warhammer 40k happened in 2022 in December, when Games Workshop announced this post on their website. Warhammer starring Henry Cavill. Basically, here's one heck of a surprise, and it's not even Christmas yet. Games Workshop and Amazon Studios are working together to bring the Warhammer 40k universe to screens, big and small alike. And there's more. One of Warhammer's superfans, Henry Cavill, well known for pointing out chandeliers like Blackstone fortresses, as you saw earlier, is on the board too. He's bringing his lore expertise to the mantle of executive producer and his sword arms to the starring role. And this even got, posted and news on the fucking New York Times. And that's just incredible. Amazon to bring Warhammer 4K to the screen with Henry Cavill. And there's a picture of some, miniatures, looks like some Chaos Space Marines. And yeah, that's peak. That's when you're proud to be a 40k fan. You're proud to be a member of the franchise. You're proud to be someone who is excited for the future. And I guess, I just want to read this quote from Henry Cavill, because it really captures the magic of this moment. And this is what he said. I have loved Warhammer since I was a child, making this movement truly special for me. This opportunity to shepherd the cinematic universe from its inception is quite the honor and the responsibility. I couldn't be more grateful for all the hard work they put into Vertigo, Amazon, and Games Workshop to make this happen. One step closer to making a nigh-long, lifelong dream come true. This is the biggest news of Warhammer 40k. Mainstream. With actual production, with actual money, and an actual mainstream studio like Amazon participating and helping in this process. Henry and Cavill and Amazon producing this is probably the biggest way for Warhammer 40k to get into the mainstream with more video games, with more IP, with more miniatures. It's huge. Millions and millions of untapped fans. And the Warhammer IP and universe being the most largest online website on the world and streaming platforms as well is huge. It's something that all Warhammer 40k fans should be proud of and to be excited about. Amazon, like I mentioned before, has done great with Fallout, with The Boys, and I can't see what they're going to be cooking with Henry Cavill as an executive producer. And obviously, this announcement will lead into our next part, which is the Chud's obsession with Henry Cavill and the Amazon TV show.
A lot of characters from the Warhammer universe that I want to be, but I can only really be one, because once I'm one, then I can't be others. If it were to ever happen, if there were to be anything live action, I would have to be very aware of that. It is obviously character rich, especially the 40k universe. I suppose I could play a different character from the Warhammer Fantasy universe versus the 40k universe, but again, I'm now just dreaming. So I'd have to speak to the guys at Games Workshop and see what happens.
5 years, you'd make a very good Greg Horizon, I think.
That would be exciting, yes, but then I'd burn Primarchs and the Captain General, so I don't really know.
Essentially, there's a new rumour that claims Games Workshop has introduced the female Adeptus Custodes in order to pave the way for Amazon MGM Studios' upcoming Warhammer 40k series, that is being helmed by Henry Cavill. Guy just can't catch a break, can he?
Because of course we have the female Custodes nonsense happening and Games Workshop in general working to make their environment more inclusive.
Report, which sounds very legit, talks about Henry Cavill not being happy with Warhammer's introduction of female Custodes and about Amazon originally wanting to add female Space Marines instead of Custodes at the beginning of their discussion.
So yes, the argument that a lot of these YouTubers are upset about is that having female Custodes, having female characters in the Warhammer 40K universe has hurt the Amazon TV show. And the fact that these, introductions that happened earlier this year in the 10th edition of the Adeptus Custodes really affects the production of Warhammer 40K, and the fact that it is a sense of woke diversity, inclusion, and the fact that having female characters hurts the hobby. So I have more clips, guys, to show to you, and to really indicate the chuds here trying to make a argument of saying that this is going to hurt the TV show itself now.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I am not a master of Warhammer 40k lore. Changes happen. I mean, just look at the Wikipedia pages of Warhammer right now. Prior to all of this, if you looked up Adeptus Custodians on Warhammer's wiki, it would say this: "These men are my bodyguards. Their lives forfeit to the guarantee of my physical safety. Of their loyalty to me there shall be no question nor doubt. I and I alone shall have the authority to stand in judgment over them. No other commander shall they have in battle nor in service. None shall bar them from me, and none shall hamper or stall their mission. So it is decreed, as said by the Emperor of Mankind during the Age of Strife." Well, that's not what it says anymore. If you look at it now, these men have been changed to these warriors. Because of course, since female Custodes apparently exist, that means the Emperor of Mankind has to now refer to his custodians in a gender-neutral term like warriors now.
So yeah, you have people, these chuds who proclaim that I'm a Taurus, go and openly say that they're not lore masters, they're not really familiar with the lore, and then literally going on a Wikipedia page that could easily be edited by anyone, and then get frustrated and bummed out that they change men to warriors, because warriors is a gender-neutral term apparently. I think warriors is a good term to describe any faction's best and brightest, because you want to describe your bodyguards as warriors, right? So I think a lot of these chuds like to really be invested in the culture wars, nitpick every term, and also pick fights that don't really relate to their hobby and fandom. Again, they literally openly admit they're not fans or they're invested in the lore. They probably never even opened a Warhammer 40k book outside of going to Wikipedia.
These people infiltrating Warhammer, Star Wars, and more are insane people who hate everything and want their hate and insane ideals to be reflected in everything they interact with.
Yeah, no, so this is absolutely wrong. This makes no sense. This is not an argument that most fans would adhere to. Having female Custodes does not break the lore. Having female characters does not end all Warhammer 40k franchise. As a Warhammer fan myself, I really, really like this new addition to the Warhammer 40k universe, and I think that it's overblown. It is not like you're adding new stuff into Warhammer 40k that changes the lore dramatically. You're just adding new narratives that will improve and increase more diversity, which is, wow, not a bunch of shocker, but something that I really appreciate and definitely recognize that needs to be included in the Warhammer 40k universe.
Get to June, the more insufferable things are about to come. In case you somehow forgot, June is Pride Month. Warhammer was its authentic self. It was a property meant to bring people together through their collective love of the brand. Now it does things like changes lore through new books to bring in concepts like Adeptus Custodes being female and more.
First, I think it's super ironic that, you bash on Pride first. These chuds hate world culture. They hate, feminism. They hate LGBTQ plus community folks. They'll bash on Pride and then have the audacity to go on and be like, hey, Warhammer 40k used to be an authentic hobby with bringing everyone coming in together. That's being a hypocrite, and I'm calling this out right now. That's honestly pretty shameful that you can put those two sentences together. And I have a copy of literally, again, this one book here has caused all this controversy by having female Custodes. And it's just pretty hypocritical, saying, oh, this used to be a hobby where guys can get together and guys can be dudes, and now it's now infiltrated by woke people. No, it's never been like that. This hobby is growing, and the fact that we're making these petty arguments is silly, and I'm just disappointed in some of these fans.
Many games and properties have deliberately made female and male characters look uglier on purpose because apparently it's to appease to trans players. Warhammer 40K novelist James Swallow confirms he included gender transition propaganda into his Iron and Bone story. So like I previously stated, Warhammer has absolutely gone completely off the deep end with identity politics.
So here we are right now. Obviously, these chuds are literally going, they're getting triggered, and, they are upset that the Warhammer 40K universe has characters talking about their transition. And I'm going to put the story right here, right now. You can pause this video and read the story. It's a great short story by James Swallow. And basically, it talks about a character who is transitioning or had transitioned and has chosen their name. And a lot of folks, that's very important when you choose your name, when you transition. And I think that's, a beautiful story about people who do transition and that it can easily fit in the Warhammer 40K universe. But obviously, with these chuds, they lose their mind and it's disgusting. And it's honestly pretty petty. It doesn't matter. People should choose their names. People should be whoever they want to be.
The article is titled, and I have to dance around some words here because of the nature of YouTube, but anyway, it's titled, Latest Warhammer, the Old World novel, appears to celebrate homosexual adult-child romances.
Hey guys, I know this isn't Warhammer 40K, but it is still Warhammer, and obviously this video itself is clickbaity. Because one thing I want to highlight is that he is being a concerned troll, and that basically he wants to still make money without infringing on his YouTube monetary funds. So basically, still wants to get clicks, still wants to get money, and is insinuating stuff that is not actually happening when, So just take a look at yourself this clip here.
And yes, he would have been a fine knight and earned his spurs in less than a year, his knight's oath sworn on the midsummer's morn. He would meet a boy with a smile that lit up the world, their love so great that all Bretonia's poets would weep as they penned exquisite odes in its celebration.
Yeah, no, I just think this is just way blown out of the water here because it's really innocent. It's nothing that is pedophilia in nature. I mean, think of all the songs, think of all the artistic endeavors people have done over the centuries about talking about boys, talking about girls, boyfriends, girlfriends, and just saying the word boy. It's just, you're insinuating something that isn't there, and it's kind of really like you're just reaching for straws, man. And I just think that it's pointless, and a lot of these guys are just, they will believe any delusion. I doubt they even read the book. I doubt they even looked at this, and that they just saw the screenshot, and these chuds are just gonna use it as clickbait. Because clickbait just clicks.
Wrote this up over at That Park Place this evening, and this new rumor alleges that Amazon, MGM Studios, and Prime Video wanted female Space Marines for their upcoming Warhammer film or series.
Rumor, Games Workshop introduced female Adeptus Custodes for Amazon's upcoming Warhammer 40K series with Henry Cavill. And of course, like I previously reported, these changes are allegedly only being done in order to appease Amazon when it comes to their contractual agreement with Games Workshop.
My eyes are broken. I've gazed into the warp. I've only seen madness and despair. Please help me. I've spent so many hours looking at these videos about, as you know, Warhammer 40K, about how these chuds are about to be, really quite frankly, be upset on behalf of Henry Cavill. And as we all know, Henry Cavill is our hero. He is the unofficial mascot of Warhammer 40K. He is the franchise ambassador, so to speak. So watching these chuds, watching these clowns get upset, getting triggered on behalf of Henry Cavill is pretty funny.
It's not them being behind it that makes people excited for the Warhammer show. It's Henry Cavill. He's the driving force behind the hype because of him being an actual longtime fan of the IP. He's been a fan of it since he was 10. He paints and collects the figures, he plays the games, he reads the books, and he made no secret of the fact that he's a fan because he kept mentioning it over the years in various interviews and social media posts.
In other Henry Cavill news, the Warhammer 40K show at Amazon is still in development, and I recently saw there were some leaks shared on 4chan, allegedly. I mean, obviously none of this is confirmed because they're anonymous posts. They're saying that basically Henry Cavill is threatening to leave that show over changes that they're trying to make to the lore at the behest of Amazon executives.
So, as we all know, Henry Cavill's faction is the Adeptus Custodes. And, oh no! There are women characters in the Adeptus Custodes. We have hit this boiling point, this direction of Amazon, of the Warhammer 40K TV show, of literally being against the backlash of having women characters in Warhammer 40K. These are rumors. We should be, again, supporting, celebrating Henry Cavill, because he is taking the flag bearer of this entire franchise. But yet, we are seeing huge clickbait. These are chuds who don't care about Henry Cavill or Warhammer 40K. They just care about one thing, which is the clicks and the fact that we have diversity and inclusion in the 40K universe.
So the new rumour does come to us from 4chan, which, yes, that will probably be a red flag to some people, but it is important to note, 4chan and Reddit both have been completely right with leaks in the past. Completely right, actually. So it's important not to immediately discount them. Genuinely.
While Amazon hasn't made a statement on this yet, and they probably never will cause that would destroy their show, Henry and other employees are also not allowed to publicly talk about behind the scenes problems. Thus, if they want to inform the public, they're gonna have to present themselves as insiders, and the media has to state everything they reveal as a rumor. But considering so many insiders stated similar things here, it's most likely true, but keep that in mind.
Ah yes, 4chan and Reddit. The best, most accurate places on the internet. I just want to say, first off, rumors from 4chan, no. That's just, if you said, oh man, trust me guys, my source is from 4chan, I'm sorry, you've lost all credibility. And I love one of these chuds literally says that sometimes they're right. Well shit, yeah, sometimes, but most of the time they're wrong. If you have no source, no names, you're just making shit up.
Rumor, Henry Cavill not happy with Warhammer's introduction of female Custodes, Amazon wanted female Space Marines. Allegedly, according to an insider within Games Workshop, things are not going over very well, and their star of the series is beyond pissed at the reception surrounding the series. Henry Cavill is furious that female Custodes even exist, for obvious reasons, and this is worrying the internal staff at Games Workshop that things could be getting worse. This rumor comes from fellow YouTuber Arch, who spoke about how he recently had a conversation with one of his sources within Games Workshop itself, and
Hey, I got bad news for you, man. Arch is also a YouTuber who tends to make shit up as well, so if his source is another source from another source, you're just making up sources. And I'm sorry, YouTube is also not a valid source for a lot of things. I could be like, hey, I'm going to go to Reddit right now, and I'm going to find a YouTuber. His name is Kenny Boulder. And Kenny Boulder says that the Emperor of Mankind is actually a female person. Like, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, you are making stuff up as you go.
So, I'm not going to read out the whole post. And I don't have all the context because I just did a crash course in all of this lore today.
This is a perfect example of the clickbait from these chuds. Literally, I just found this link from a rumor from Reddit and 4chan, and now I'm going to make a news story out of this because it is clicky, it's baity. You have people who admit that they don't follow the lore. A crash course in a day, that's insane. I'm sorry. It takes years, honestly, to know the lore. And to be quite frankly, like, I welcome anyone who wants to get in the hobby. I'm not trying to gatekeep here, but I just want to say that if you're trying to bring news from rumors, from stuff that you don't understand and know, just for clickbait, for money, for monetary views, don't do that. If you care about the fans, if you care about the lore, if you care about the franchise, you can start anywhere. No one should feel like they're obligated to read years of lore in a day. But openly saying you're an expert and then bringing this up, you shouldn't do that either.
Into Amazon specifically to get Amazon to push those certain messages. Huge investment companies that are obsessed with things like DEI. That's why Amazon cares less about making good entertainment and more about pushing their political messages and DEI quotas to get a good ESG rating, which then in turn means more money from investors like BlackRock, Vanguard and State Street. The three biggest shareholders of Amazon, and all three of them are huge investment companies that care about ESG scores and DEI. Number one of the three biggest shareholders is Vanguard. They hold $712 million.
So we're now in the, again, speculation. Oh yeah, the reason why Amazon is making Games Workshop with all these changes is because of money. And they want to have more diversity inclusion in these videos, in these characters, in this franchise. It's about the money. Vanguard, BlackRock. Again, I've talked about this in length in my other videos, but to give you a recap about this, the idea is that, oh, well, because the corporations want to, force feed us, their women and their people of color and members of LGBTQ, that's why they're making these changes. I want to be honest with you. I think Games Workshop in the Amazon, bullshit corporate graphs of money is not that much. And so the idea and the concept that, behind the strings of all this is, these companies making these financial decisions, telling Henry Cavill what to do, is just baloney. It's bullshit. It doesn't really matter. And quite frankly, it's just, you're just reaching for straws, man. Reaching for straws.
And then, of course, all of the games media jumped in. Here's Gizmodo, Warhammer 40K's new culture war. Crossfire is a mess of its own making. The toxic fan base and grifters are out here. Because, of course, nobody is actually mad about this. It's just toxic people and grifters. Not people passionate about their hobby. This is why nobody likes games journalism. And that's what this site, Gizmodo, is. It's a bunch of games journalists. They just don't talk about games. They talk about a lot of other stuff, too. So here is what's going on. So that Park Place did a summary of this video from Archcast, the Archcast. There's his channel. And he put a whole video down talking about a lot of the stuff, but what I want to focus on is the Henry Cavill stuff. Because I've been curious to know how Henry Cavill feels about this and what he plans on doing. And it sounds like, at least according to Arch's insider, that he's mad.
So yeah, again, I just want to highlight, it's kind of wild that we're using Arch, a YouTuber, and his anonymous source, and then we're also, and I will go over the screenshots from 4chan, because you can find them on Twitter, you can find them on all these articles that are just spewing this nonsense, and I just want to highlight that Arch is not a credible source. If you're making an article that is, a journalistic article and effort, and naming unnamed sources of how Henry Cavill feels, that is not journalism. That is speculative, that is clickbait, and these chuds only clickbait. Literally, it doesn't matter. They literally will find any opportunity to make up a source, and that's just not valid. They're just making stuff up, and that's not okay.
Absolute conspiracy theory territory. So apparently this anonymous insider here, as they call themselves, is somebody who worked on or is working on the Amazon adaptation for Warhammer 40K. So now, of course, what is the fuss about at the moment? Why on earth are Custodes, always been the male species, suddenly being infiltrated with female versions of themselves?
It's literally decades that has never been the case. It's a stage 4 cancer situation, they say. A business partnership shared the cancer from one company to the other. Games Workshop does not actually want this lore change and are trying to do it as minimally as possible. No models, no art, no future mentions of them, etc. Henry Cavill is threatening to walk away from the Warhammer show if they force him to include token female Custodes in the Eisenhorn series, or...
It literally starts out with saying insider here. Like, okay, this guy must be like a clown because he doesn't mention what his position is. There's no reference of what he does. Just says insider here. Trust me, bro. Like, come the fuck on. At least Deep Throat mentioned that he worked in government, Like, Amazon is a big company. Games Workshop is a big company. By not mentioning what they do, just being said, I'm an insider here. I know things. Well, I want to say it doesn't make any sense. And, they mentioned that there is, some rumors about these female Custodes. I have literally the book right here. And we get 2 named female Custodes here. So this insider might have got an extra copy of these books, maybe. I don't know. Or they just made it up. Or they saw the screenshots that everyone saw and decided to go on 4chan to make this up as we were going with this massive controversy or culture war, whatever you want to call it. And so naturally, this screenshot goes over with the stock market because, trust me, bro, I'm a day trader too, and I'm also an insider. So like, dude, QAnon is right here in 4chan. He knows where Pizzagate is, and this is literally just dudes making shit up. All it is. Like, trust me, dude. My dad works at Nintendo. Like, really. We're just going down this rabbit hole of using 4chan, using these anonymous rumors as actual news sources for multi-billion-dollar companies. No, it's fucking crazy. And all we got from this whole screenshot is that Henry Cavill hates female Custodes and wants to walk out. That literally, you can make that up anywhere. Anyone could have made that up. You don't even have to be an insider to make that up. You know, you can be Arch on YouTube and make that up on the spot and say his sources in Games Workshop. So we might as well just pretend that this didn't happen, and that, or we can just pretend that this always happens and anything on 4chan is real and verifiable, because 4chan is a news source, right? So the real conclusion about this whole thing is, does Henry Cavill respond to any of this or say anything about this? And honestly, I couldn't find anything. I think a lot of this has been clickbait, rage bait, and all this has just been really, really shitty photoshops of Henry Cavill on Space Marines, or really weird and obscure thumbnails that are clickbaiting in nature. And the fact that these chuds are just using Henry Cavill, morphing his image into their flag bearer and projecting their views onto him is kind of, it's messed up. And I think Henry Cavill is a hero for making the franchise grow, being an executive producer for the Amazon live-action TV show. And a lot of this Warhammer 40K controversy is just fan fiction. It's projection, it's 4chan screenshots that are made by some random chud, and it's just gone over all the Twitter and YouTube because these chuds love clickbait. And so it's just unfortunate that they use Henry Cavill into this. And the Cringe YouTube channels would like you to believe that Henry Cavill hates Games Workshop, hates Amazon, wants to get out of this, you know, in his own words, an opportunity of a lifetime because there's female Custodes. That's not the case. That scenario is dumb, and I don't think anyone would risk that. And I think that, again, he hasn't said anything about that, so we really don't know what he said. But we also shouldn't assume that these rumors, that these people that claim that they know what he's saying is true, unless you get the source from himself. So, like, the production is going on. Either way, this is going to happen. And at this point in this entire timeline, we're just waiting. And we won't know what the video will look like until we see it itself. So, at the end of the day, does Henry Cavill care? Has he said anything? Has he said any, in response to any allegations, Mr. Cavill? He hasn't. And I don't blame him, because, like I said, I couldn't find anything about this. There's no comments. There's no TMZ video of, like, guys putting a camera saying, "What's your response to female Custodes?" Because, quite frankly, this is kind of a small niche, small community issue in a very small timeline of Warhammer 40K. And all I could find, really, and when I've been researching this, is just thumbnails of Henry Cavill's face with Master Chief and the Stellar Blade chick. So I think he's keeping his opinion to himself, and like he's done before, he actually, came out as a Warhammer 40K fan. He doesn't really want to talk about this because he doesn't want to get in the weeds. And I don't blame him, because at the end of the day, you don't really want to feed the trolls. You don't want to give fire to your haters. You don't want to, like, throw wood into the fire. And a lot of these controversies have kind of died out at this point. In fact, the research I've done and about celebrities are, again, these are small. These are just chuds trying to get clickbait, trying to get more culture war views, because that's how they get their earnings, and they're in the keep. So I think Henry Cavill himself wants to remain quiet. He doesn't want to give them attention, and I'm sure his publicists and his public relations are like, yeah, just want to give you a heads up. Your name's blowing up. You might see some videos on YouTube with your face on it, and he's like, cool, whatever. I'm gonna go back to work. So I just want to say, Henry Cavill, this ain't worth your time. I know you're doing good at Amazon. I know you're doing good at Games Workshop. I know your favorite faction, Custodes, got a huge nerf recently, but they also got a lot of cool lore. And at the end of the day, they are still the Emperor's protectors. So, again, it's your boy Kenny Boulder, and if you like this content, like, subscribe, and comment. I'll see you next time.